Whitney Elizabeth Houston was an American singer and actress. Nicknamed The Voice, she is one of the best-selling recording artists of all time, with sales of over 200 million records worldwide. Houston has influenced many singers in popular music and is known for her powerful, soulful vocals and vocal improvisation skills. She is the only artist to have had 7 consecutive #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100, from Saving All My Love for You in 1985 to Where Do Broken Hearts Go in 1988. Houston also enhanced her popularity by entering into the movie industry. Her works, which include recordings and films, have generated both great success and controversy. Houston began singing in church as a child and became a background vocalist while in high school. She was one of the first black women to appear on the cover of 17 after becoming a teen model in 1981. With the guidance of Arista Records chairman Clive Davis, Houston signed to the label at age 19. Her first 2 studio albums, Whitney Houston, 1985, and Whitney, 1987, both peaked at #1 on the Billboard 200 and are among the best-selling albums of all time. Houston's third studio album, I'm Your Baby Tonight, 1990, yielded 2 Billboard Hot 100 #1 singles, I'm Your Baby Tonight and All the Man That I Need. Houston made her acting debut with the romantic thriller film The Bodyguard, 1992. At the time of its release, the film was the 10th highest-grossing film of all time. However, it received negative reviews for its screenplay and performances of the lead actors. She recorded 6 songs for the film's soundtrack, including I Will Always Love You, which won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year and became the best-selling physical single by a female in music history. The soundtrack for The Bodyguard won the Grammy Award for Album of the Year and remains the best-selling soundtrack album of all time. Houston went on to star and record soundtracks for 2 high-profile films, Waiting to Exhale, 1995, and The Preacher's Wife, 1996. Soundtrack of The Preacher's Wife, which was produced by Houston, became the best-selling gospel album of all time. As a film producer, she produced multicultural movies including Cinderella, 1997, and series including The Princess Diaries and The Cheetah Girls. Houston's first studio album in 8 years, My Love Is Your Love, 1998, sold millions and spawned several hit singles, including Heartbreak Hotel, It's Not Right But It's Okay and My Love Is Your Love. Following the success, she renewed her contract with Arista for $100 million, one of the biggest recording deals of all time. However, her personal problems began overshadowing her career, and the 2002 studio album, Just Whitney, received mixed reviews. Her drug use and a tumultuous marriage to singer Bobby Brown received widespread media coverage. After a 6-year break from recording, Houston returned to the top of the Billboard 200 chart with her final studio album, I Look to You, 2009. Houston was certified as the best-selling female rap artist of the 20th century by the Recording Industry Association of America. She also sold more physical singles than any other female solo artist in history. Houston released 7 studio albums and 2 soundtrack albums, all of which have been certified from gold to diamond. Her accolades include 2 Emmy Awards, 8 Grammy Awards, including Record and Album of the Year wins, 14 World Music Awards, 16 Billboard Music Awards and 22 American Music Awards. Houston was inducted into the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame in 2014 and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2020. In 1997, the Franklin School in East Orange, New Jersey was renamed to the Whitney E. Houston Academy School of Creative and Performing Arts. She was named as one of the 100 greatest singers of all time by Rolling Stone. Houston was also ranked by VH1 among the top 100 greatest artists of all time and the 200 greatest pop culture icons of all time. Her entrance into the music industry is considered one of the 25 musical milestones of the last 25 years, according to the USA Today in 2007. Whitney Elizabeth Houston was born on August 9, 1963, in what was then a middle-income neighborhood in Newark, New Jersey. She was the daughter of ex-Army serviceman and Newark City Administrator John Russell Houston Jr. and gospel singer Emily Sissy, Drinkard, Houston. Her elder brother Michael is a songwriter and her elder half-brother is former basketball player and singer Gary Garland. Her parents were both African American and she is said to have had Dutch and Native American ancestry. Through her mother, Houston was a first cousin of singers Dionne Warwick and Dee Dee Warwick. Her godmother was Darlene Love and her honorary aunt was Aretha Franklin, whom she met at age 8 or 9 when her mother took her to a recording studio. Houston was raised a Baptist, but was also exposed to the Pentecostal church. After the 1967 Newark riots, the family moved to a middle-class area in East Orange, New Jersey, when she was 4. Her parents later divorced. At age 11, Houston began performing as a soloist in the junior gospel choir at the New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, where she also learned to play the piano. Her first solo performance in the church was Guide Me, O Thou Great Jehovah. While Houston was still in school, her mother, Sissy, continued to teach her how to sing. Sissy was a member of the group The Sweet Inspirations, which also opened for and sang backup for Elvis Presley. Houston spent some of her teens touring nightclubs where Sissy was performing, and she would occasionally get on stage and perform with her. Houston was also exposed to the music of Chaka Khan, Gladys Knight, and Roberta Flack, most of whom would have an influence on her as a singer and performer. In 1977, aged 14, she became a backup singer on the Michael Zager Band's single Life's a Party. When she was around 16, Houston sang background vocals for Chaka Khan and Lou Rawls on their 1980 albums, Naughty and Shades of Blue, respectively. Houston attended Mount St. Dominic Academy, a Catholic girls' high school in Caldwell, New Jersey. She graduated in 1981. During her teens, Houston met Robin Crawford, who she described as the sister she never had. Crawford went on to become Houston's best friend, roommate and executive assistant. After Houston rose to stardom, she and Crawford were rumored to be lovers, which they both denied in 1987. In 2019, several years after Houston's death, Crawford stated that their early relationship had included sexual activity, but that Houston ended this for fear of others' reactions. In the early 1980s, Houston began working as a fashion model after a photographer saw her at Carnegie Hall singing with her mother. She became the first woman of color to appear on the cover of 17. She appeared in Glamour, Cosmopolitan and Young Miss and appeared in a Canada Dry soft drink TV commercial. Her looks and girl next door charm made her one of the most sought-after teen models. In 1982, under the suggestion of longtime friend Valerie Simpson, Houston signed with Tara Productions and hired Daniel Gittelman, Seymour Flicks, and Gene Harvey as her managers. With them, Houston furthered her recording career by working with producers Michael Beinhorn, Bill Laswell and Martin Beese on an album they were spearheading called One Down, which was credited to the group material. For that project, she contributed the ballad Memories, a cover of a song by Hugh Hopper of Soft Machine. Robert Christgau of The Village Voice called her contribution one of the most gorgeous ballads you've ever heard. She also appeared as a lead vocalist on one track on a Paul Jobbera album, entitled Paul Jobbera and Friends, released by Columbia Records in 1983. In 1983, Jerry Griffith, an ARD representative from Arista Records, saw Houston performing with her mother in a New York nightclub. He convinced Arista's head Clive Davis to make time to see her perform. Davis was impressed and immediately offered a worldwide record deal, which Houston eventually signed after being alternatively sought after by another label. Houston had been offered deals by recording agencies before, by Michael Zager in 1980 and by Elektra Records in 1981, but her mother declined them on the grounds that Whitney had yet to complete high school. Later that year, Houston made her national television debut alongside Davis on The Merv Griffin Show. She performed Home, a song from the musical The Wiz. Houston did not begin work on an album immediately. The label wanted to make sure no other label signed her away, and Davis wanted to ensure he had the right material and producers for her debut album. Some producers passed on the project because of prior commitments. Houston first recorded a duet with Teddy Pendergrass, Hold Me, which appeared on his gold album, Love Language. The single was released in 1984 and gave Houston her first taste of success, becoming a top 5 R&B hit. It would also appear on her debut album in 1985. Throughout the 1980s, Houston was romantically linked to musician Jermaine Jackson, American football star Randall Cunningham, and actor Eddie Murphy. She then met singer Bobby Brown at the 1989 Soul Train Music Awards. After a 3-year courtship, the two were married on July 18, 1992. Brown would go on to have several run-ins with the law for drunken driving, drug possession and battery, including some jail time. On March 4, 1993, Houston gave birth to their daughter Bobby Christina Brown. March 4, 1993, July 26, 2015, the couple's only child. Houston revealed in a 1993 interview with Barbara Walters that she had a miscarriage during the filming of The Bodyguard. With the massive commercial success of her music, film offers poured in, including offers to work with Robert De Niro, Quincy Jones, and Spike Lee, but Houston never felt the time was right. Her first film role was in The Bodyguard, released in 1992. Houston played a star who is stalked by a crazed fan and hires a bodyguard, played by Kevin Costner, to protect her. Houston's mainstream appeal allowed audiences to look past the interracial nature of her character's relationship with Costner's character. However, controversy arose as some felt Houston's face had been intentionally left out of the film's advertising to hide the film's interracial relationship. In a 1993 interview with Rolling Stone, Houston remarked that people know who Whitney Houston is, I'm black. You can't hide that fact. In October 1994, Houston attended and performed at a state dinner in the White House honoring newly elected South African President Nelson Mandela. At the end of her world tour, Houston performed 3 concerts in South Africa to honor President Mandela, playing to over 200,000 people. This made her the first major musician to visit the newly unified and apartheid-free nation following Mandela's winning election. Portions of Whitney. The concert for a new South Africa were broadcast live on HBO, with funds of the concerts being donated to various charities in South Africa. The event was considered the nation's biggest media event since the inauguration of Nelson Mandela. After spending much of the early and mid-1990s working on motion pictures and their soundtrack albums, Houston's first studio album in 8 years, the critically acclaimed My Love Is Your Love, was released in November 1998. Though originally slated to be a greatest hits album with a handful of new songs, recording sessions were so fruitful that a new full-length studio album was released. Recorded and mixed in only 6 weeks, it featured production from Rodney Jerkins, Wyclef Jean, and Missy Elliott. The album debuted at number 13, its peak position, on the Billboard 200 chart. It had a funkier and edgier sound than past releases and saw Houston handling urban dance, hip-hop, mid-tempo, reggae, torch songs and ballads, all with great dexterity. From late 1998 to early 2000, the album spawned several hit singles: When You Believe, US UK No. 4, a duet with Mariah Carey for 1998's The Prince of Egypt soundtrack, which also became an international hit as it peaked in the top 10 in several countries and won an Academy Award for Best Original Song, Heartbreak Hotel. Though Houston was seen as a good girl with a perfect image in the 1980s and early 1990s, her behavior had changed by 1999 and 2000. She was often hours late for interviews, photo shoots and rehearsals. She cancelled concerts and talk show appearances, and there were reports of erratic behavior. Missed performances and weight loss led to rumors about Houston using drugs with her husband. On January 11, 2000, while traveling with Brown, airport security guards discovered half an ounce of marijuana in Houston's handbag at Keyhole Kona International Airport in Hawaii, but she departed before authorities could arrive. Charges against her were later dropped, but rumors of drug usage by Houston and Brown would continue to surface. 2 months later, Clive Davis was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Houston had been scheduled to perform at the event, but was a no-show. Shortly thereafter, Houston was scheduled to perform at the Academy Awards, but was fired from the event by musical director and longtime friend Burt Bacharach. Her publicist cited throat problems as the reason for the cancellation. In his book The Big Show, High Times and Dirty Dealings Backstage at the Academy Awards, author Steve Pond revealed that Houston's voice was shaky, she seemed distracted and jittery, and her attitude was casual, almost defiant, and that while Houston was supposed to perform Over the Rainbow, she would start singing a different song during rehearsals. Houston later admitted to having been fired. In May 2000, Houston's longtime executive assistant and friend, Robin Crawford, resigned from Houston's management company. In 2019, Crawford asserted that she had left Houston's employ after Houston declined to seek help for her drug dependency. The following month, Rolling Stone published a story stating that Cissy Houston and others had held a July 1999 intervention in which they unsuccessfully attempted to persuade Whitney to obtain drug treatment. In August 2001, Houston signed one of the biggest record deals in music history, with Arista/BMG. She renewed her contract for $100 million to release 6 new albums, for which she would also earn royalties. She later made an appearance on Michael Jackson's 30th anniversary special, where her extremely thin frame further spurred rumors of drug use. Her publicist stated, "Whitney has been under stress due to family matters, and when she is under stress she doesn't eat." In a 2009 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Houston acknowledged that drug use had been the reason for her weight loss. She was scheduled for a second performance the following night, but cancelled it. Within weeks, Houston's rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner would be re-released after the September 11th attacks, with the proceeds donated to the New York Firefighters 9/11 Disaster Relief Fund and the New York Fraternal Order of Police. The song peaked at No. 6 this time on the US Hot 100, topping its previous position. In 2002, Houston became embroiled in a legal dispute with John Houston Enterprise. Although the company was started by her father to manage her career, it was actually run by company president Kevin Skinner. Skinner filed a breach of contract lawsuit and sued for $100 million, but lost, stating that Houston owed the company previously unpaid compensation for helping to negotiate her $100 million contract with Arista Records and for sorting out legal matters. Houston stated that her 81-year-old father had nothing to do with the lawsuit. Although Skinner tried to claim otherwise, John Houston never appeared in court. Houston's father later died in February 2003. The lawsuit was dismissed on April 5, 2004, and Skinner was awarded nothing. Also in 2002, Houston gave an interview with Diane Sawyer to promote her then upcoming album. During the primetime special, she spoke about her drug use and marriage, among other topics. Addressing the ongoing drug rumors, she said, "First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight. Okay? We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack." The "Crack is whack" line was drawn from a mural that Keith Haring painted in 1986 on the handball court at 128th Street and 2nd Avenue in Manhattan. Houston did, however, admit to using alcohol, marijuana, cocaine and pills. She also acknowledged that her mother had urged her to seek help regarding her drug use. She also denied having an eating disorder and that her very thin appearance was connected to drug use. She further stated that Bobby Brown had never hit her, but acknowledged that she had hit him. In December 2002, Houston released her 5th studio album, Just Whitney. The album included productions from then-husband Bobby Brown, as well as Missy Elliott and Babyface, and marked the first time that Houston did not produce with Clive Davis, as Davis had been released by top management at BMG. Upon its release, Just Whitney received mixed reviews. The album debuted at number 9 on the Billboard 200 chart, and it had the highest first-week sales of any album Houston had ever released. The 4 singles released from the album did not fare well on the Billboard Hot 100, but became dance chart hits. Just Whitney was certified platinum in the United States and sold approximately 2 million worldwide. In late 2003, Houston released her first Christmas album, One Wish, the holiday album, with a collection of traditional holiday songs. Houston produced the album with Mervyn Warren and Gordon Chambers. A single titled One Wish, for Christmas, reached the top 20 on the adult contemporary chart, and the album was certified gold in the US. In December 2003, Brown was charged with battery following an altercation during which he threatened to beat Houston and then assaulted her. Police reported that Houston had visible injuries to her face. Having always been a touring artist, Houston spent most of 2004 touring and performing in Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and Russia. In September 2004, she gave a surprise performance at the World Music Awards in a tribute to longtime friend Clive Davis. After the show, Davis and Houston announced plans to go into the studio to work on her new album. In early 2004, husband Bobby Brown starred in his own reality TV program, Being Bobby Brown, on Bravo. The show provided a view of the domestic goings-on in the Brown household. Though it was Brown's vehicle, Houston was a prominent figure throughout the show, receiving as much screen time as Brown. The series aired in 2005 and featured Houston in unflattering moments. Years later, The Guardian opined that through her participation in the show, Houston had lost the last remnants of her dignity. The Hollywood Reporter said that the show was undoubtedly the most disgusting and execrable series ever to ooze its way onto television. Despite the perceived trainwreck nature of the show, the series gave Bravo its highest ratings in its time slot and continued Houston's successful forays into film and television. The show was not renewed for a second season after Houston stated that she would no longer appear in it, and Brown and Bravo could not come to an agreement for another season. Houston reportedly appeared disheveled and erratic in the days immediately prior to her death. On February 9, 2012, Houston visited singers Brandy and Monica, together with Clive Davis, at their rehearsals for Davis's pre-Grammy Awards party at the Beverly Hilton in Beverly Hills. That same day, she made her last public performance when she joined Kelly Price on stage in Hollywood, California, and sang Jesus Loves Me. 2 days later, on February 11, Houston was found unconscious in Suite 434 at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, submerged in the bathtub. Beverly Hills paramedics arrived at approximately 3:30 p.m., found Houston unresponsive, and performed CPR. Houston was pronounced dead at 3:55 p.m. PST. The cause of death was not immediately known. Local police said there were no obvious signs of criminal intent. On March 22, 2012, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office reported that Houston's death was caused by drowning and the effects of atherosclerotic heart disease and cocaine use. The office stated the amount of cocaine found in Houston's body indicated that she used the substance shortly before her death. Toxicology results revealed additional drugs in her system: diphenhydramine, Benadryl, alprazolam, Xanax, cannabis and cyclobenzaprine, Flexeril. The manner of death was listed as an accident. An invitation-only memorial service was held for Houston on Saturday, February 18, 2012, at the New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey. The service was scheduled for 2 hours, but lasted 4. Among those who performed at the funeral were Stevie Wonder, rewritten version of Ribbon in the Sky and Love's in Need of Love Today, CeCe Winans, Don't Cry and Jesus Loves Me, Alicia Keys, Send Me an Angel, Kim Burrell, rewritten version of A Change Is Gonna Come, and R. Kelly, I Look to You. The performances were interspersed with hymns by the church choir and remarks by Clive Davis, Houston's record producer, Kevin Costner, Ricky Minor, her music director, her cousin, Dionne Warwick, and Ray Watson, her security guard for the past 11 years. Aretha Franklin was listed on the program and was expected to sing, but was unable to attend the service. Bobby Brown was also invited to the funeral, but departed shortly after the service began. Houston was buried on February 19, 2012, in Fairview Cemetery, in Westfield, New Jersey, next to her father, John Russell Houston, who died in 2003. In June 2012, the McDonald's Gospel Fest in Newark became a tribute to Houston.